to the A to Z podcast. I'm here with Sid Rosenberg. Sid, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great, Anthony Zanni. I love that name, A to Z Podcast. I wonder where you got that from.
I have a really good friend in the business that
Yeah,
that suggested it.
no, it's a great name, and I'm excited for you for this venture. You're a good-looking guy. You're a smart guy. I got a lot of friends who do podcasts, aren't nearly as handsome and as bright as you are. So this should be a very successful enterprise for you, Anthony Zanni.
Thank you, buddy. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate you being on it. You just had a book come out. You want to tell me a little bit about the book?
I did, Anthony. That was my second book, Citizens United. Back in 2010, I wrote my first book, You're Wrong and You're Ugly, which was more biographical. This one, Anthony, was more of an opinion book. I opined on everything from Donald Trump to Joe Biden to Mayor Eric Adams to Governor Kathy Hochul to Anthony Cuomo to Tom Brady to reality television. And this book was also special to me because I lost my dad a couple summers ago, and I was very, very close with my father, Harvey, very close. And I've not gotten over it. It's now 2.5 years. There's lots of personal stories in the book about me and my dad and how that's translated to the great relationship I've got with me and my son Gabriel. Like you've got Max coming up here. So
Yeah,
it's a very heartwarming book, a lot of family stuff in the book, a lot of opinions in the book. So far, people really love it.
that's awesome. That's great to hear. I'm really sorry for you lost it. I know we've
Thank
spoken
you.
about that before in the past.
Yeah.
You do have a very interesting style to you because you are able to speak politics. You're able to speak fitness as you look like a Greek god. You're able to talk pop culture, and you really don't give a damn if you offend people, which to me is awesome. How did you make it a career like that? Like, was there when you were getting into this line of work, did you just say like, I don't really care what other people think? Like, I just want to be almost like a shock host,
Well,
or
I was in the beginning, Anthony, but not because it was planned that way. I was just stupid and ignorant and dumb and thought because I was a fan of Howard Stern and worked with Don Imus for so many years that I could just say what I wanted. It wasn't like I planned it necessarily. I mean, there was some stuff that I planned, and I think I thought I was kind of like John Gotti, Teflon
right?
Don, and then all of a sudden I was getting suspended. Page 3 of the New York Post, I was getting fired. Page 2 of the New York Post, and it became evidently clear that I was not Teflon Don. And when I got to WFAN in New York in 2001 and spent 4 years there, between 2001 and 2005, it was such a turbulent 4 years, Anthony. I mean, people think I was at the band for like 15 years because I was in the paper every week and causing all this ruckus. And the truth is, it was only about a 4 year stay, but it was certainly very memorable, and it got me fired and wasn't sure my career would ever get back to where it is today. Obviously, I spent 11 years down in South Florida, Anthony, between 2005 and 2016, hoping and praying that eventually I got a second shot at New York. And after 2014, doing the whole summer at WFAN, it didn't seem like it was going to happen. But lo and behold, God works in mysterious ways, and it wasn't a sports station, but a political station, WABC here in New York, that afforded me the opportunity. And I've been here now for 7 years.
Yeah.
And my show is now #1 in New York City. And, I do everything from politics, both national and local, to sports, pop culture, music, all of it. And I'm on a great run. But I never could have told you this back in 2005 when FAN fired me in the first place.
Yeah, you are on a great run, buddy. New York Times bestseller, an actor. Do you want to tell us a little about the movie?
Yeah, it's exciting, Anthony. I had the screening on Monday night. My first movie appearance. I'm not a very good actor, but I have to tell you, seeing myself on a motion picture screen, we had about 100 people show up at the Dolby Theater in Midtown Manhattan. The name of the movie is The Gemini Lounge. That was a real bar back in Canarsie, Brooklyn, really flatlands, back in the late 70s and early 80s. And Roy DeMeo, who's a Gambino crime member, would kill people downstairs in the bar, take them upstairs to the apartment, cut up their bodies, and drain them. And it became known as Murder Incorporated. It's a very famous book. So we did the movie. I play his cousin, Joe, who they called Dracula, because he never went outside. He bartended during the day, cut up bodies at night. And it's a great cast. Lucy Hale, she's got 25 million followers on Twitter. She plays Gina, the bartender, with me. Emil Hirsch, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He plays the star Bobby. You've got Danny A. You've got Robert Davi, Bo Dietl. And it's sort of like Goodfellas meets Donnie Brasco. I think it's going to be a huge hit.
I
Yeah,
love
it'll be out
that.
in theaters all over the country, all over the world, really, in June. Red carpet premiere in May, but Monday night was the screening. And again, I'm in about 6 or 7 scenes, not a ton of speaking lines, but to see myself, my wife and my son, to see me on a big screen was really pretty cool.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. I look forward to watching it myself. You'll be, I'll be.
And I've got a TV show too coming out. I spent last season filming season 2 of Gravesend, which was a very popular mob show on Amazon Prime a couple of years ago. And this one, I got to shoot scenes with Andrew Dice Clay down in Miami, Jazz Palminteri, Vinny Pastore from the Sopranos, Victor Benedetto. So between the Gemini Lounge coming out in theaters in June and Gravesend, probably one of these big streaming networks in May. I play a monster in every movie. And what's funny is my name is Sidney Rosenberg. Does not get more Jewish than that.
I got to ask, how was Chaz to work with? And what about Andrew Dice Clay?
Dice was great. I didn't really know Dice. He's been on my show 100 times, but he's been on the phone. And, he kind of remembers me from New York about 20 years ago, but not really. I was scared to death. Flew down to Miami and filmed that first scene, my first scene ever. And he was very nice. By the time we were done, he taught me a lot about film and TV, and I really enjoyed it. In terms of Palminteri, we've been really close friends forever. I mean, I can't tell you how many times he's had my wife and I to his restaurants in Manhattan free for Valentine's Day, and been over to the house. I've been on my shows about 100 times over the years, dating back to 2000. So Jazz and I are legitimately very, very close friends. With Dice, it was a new deal. I was very nervous. He could not have been nicer.
That's amazing. That's really great to hear. What about Lucy Hale? How was she?
She was great, and I didn't know who she was. My daughter does, obviously. She's a young girl, but she's got 25 million Twitter followers. She was on this very popular show, Pretty Little Lies, which I've never seen.
Yeah.
A beautiful girl, too.
Great show.
And
great show.
I'm an old man. I'm like 56.
The number one show for years, man. You still haven't seen it?
No, I haven't. So we're working behind the bar together, and I go, how the hell do you have 25 million followers? That's like half of what Donald Trump has. And she's like, I was in this show, and I filmed, I think, out of the 7 scenes I'm in, 5 with Lucy, but she could not have been nicer. Again, very experienced, done a bunch of movies already in Hollywood, young, pretty girl, and I kind of became like her father on the set. Because, again, I got about 30 years on this girl.
Yeah.
And she was great. Most of my scenes I shot for that movie with her, Emile Hirsch, the star and the writer, Danny A., Robert Davi, and all the young guys. I'll tell you who was great. And he plays a guy named Chris Rosenberg. Jake Cannavale, whose father, Bobby Cannavale, is a huge actor. Jake lives in New York, young guy. He was great. I filmed a bunch of scenes with him. They're all nice, Anthony, whether it's Dice or Chaz or Lucy. They like the opportunity to school the young guys like me. I mean, I'm old by years, but young in acting. They're all very, very nice.
That's great. That's great, Sid. I do. I know you're busy, and I do have a few more questions for you if you don't mind.
Sure.
You've spoken openly with me in the past, and probably on your show as well, about addiction and vices in life. What advice would you have for people trying to break whatever addiction they're facing and reach their full potential in life?
Anth, it's a great question, and there's no magic bullet. If I really had the answer, then I'd be making $1 billion a year, helping out young people and older people who are dying on a daily basis. For me, it was very simple. I got to the point where I figured out that no matter what, it was going to kill me, put me in prison, and worse than both of those things, I was going to lose my wife and my children, and especially my children. If you got arrested for drunk driving 30 years ago, maybe it was in the paper because you were famous and it goes away. Today, Anthony Zanni, nothing goes away. Right. My kids got on a computer when they were 8 years old. They Googled my name. They didn't know any better, and they see a mugshot or they see a story about something I did which was really embarrassing. And I've been arrested in front of my children, and that's some really, really hard times. I just got to the point where I said, enough is enough. I don't want to die, but more importantly, I want my kids to love and respect me. That's what worked for me. Now, if you're 18 years old, you don't have kids, and you're hooked on, hydroxy or one of these, cocaine or something, then you need to find a different reason. But everybody is different. I think you just have to come to the realization that eventually you may think it's under control. You got this. You don't. Eventually, here are your 3 options: insanity, prison, or death. And for me, those are not 3 options I personally look forward to.
No, that's fair, man. That's fair. Last 2 questions.
So, listen, but Anthony, you got to go to meetings. You got to get yourself a sponsor. Hopefully you've got family. I've got a wife and children and parents who got involved in my situation. Hopefully you're not all alone. If you're all alone, it becomes very difficult. Because what are you really fighting for? But if you've got people out there that love you, and you go to any one of them at any time and say, listen, I'm hurting, help me. 9 times out of 10, that person, family member or friend, is going to do it. And there's nothing wrong with asking for help. If you don't ask for help, you're never going to get help. It's okay to admit you've been beaten, you're powerless. Once you get to that stage and you reach out, then take it seriously. The program, 12 steps, the big book, all those things, and you can do it. But you got to get to the point where it's not like, yeah, I can go back, maybe do one line, one drink. You do that, you're going to die.
You're right, Sid. I mean, that's why pride is one of the 7 deadly sins. A lot of people are not going to ask for help, unfortunately. Last 2 questions, buddy. Favorite guest ever? Obviously, you've spoken to a lot of people. Do you have a favorite that you've ever spoken to, a favorite interview?
Well, I mean, look, I've spoken to athletes, celebrities, entertainers, everybody from Kevin Costner to Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, Shaquille O'Neal, all these great Mets and Yankees if you're here in New York City. I've interviewed 4 presidents. I'd say my favorite guest was Donald Trump because I'm a huge Trump supporter. He's been on my show more than once over the years. I'd say Trump's been on about 5 or 6 times. But the last one, back in April of 2017, he was the president. And in fact, I said to him, I said, hey, you'll appreciate this, Anthony. If it's opening day in New York, he's a Queens boy, of course. Mm-hmm. And Fred Wilpon at the time still owned the Mets. It was before Steve Cohen. And you get a call from Fred Wilpon. He says, hey, Mr. President, I've got 2 box seats for you here in Queens. And 5 minutes later, Steinbrenner calls you and said, I got 2 box seats for you here in the Bronx. And they're both home that day. Which game do you go to? And he gave me the politically correct answer. He said, oh, Sid, that's a tough one. I'm friends with the Wilpons. I'm friends with the Steinbrenners. I like this new guy, Stanton. Yankees just acquired Chicago.
Yeah.
He said, so maybe I would do 4 innings in the Bronx and 4 innings in Queens. He gave a very politically correct answer, but Trump is probably my favorite over the years.
That's really cool, man. What about a worst interview? Was there one?
Dave Navarro, the musician Dave Navarro.
Really?
The first time I called somebody a dick on radio in New York City was Dave Navarro.
What happened?
I'll tell you what happened. His mother actually was murdered. It's a horrible story. Very popular musician, guitarist. He's with Carmen Electra. He's in all these big bands, Right. And his mother was murdered. And he actually runs his charity where he deals with other families that deal with tragic death, which is a great thing. I credit David Navarro. But he didn't tell me I shouldn't bring it up during the interview. So when I go, Dave, not only you're a great musician, but this is a great charity. It's a beautiful thing you're doing. God bless your mother. God rest her soul. Congratulations. And he was like, you're not supposed to be talking about this. I said, what do you mean I'm not supposed to be talking about this? This is part of your life. This is a great thing. He's like, I should hang up the phone right now. I go, yeah, dick.
That's sad for me to hear because I'm a huge Chili Pepper fan.
There you go. So still a great musician, but he was one of the worst. The other was Larry Zonka, the Dolphin great, who had those, Hall of Fame years with Miami, great Super Bowls on those great Dolphin teams with Greasy and Warfield and Zonka and Kick and Morris. But people forget he got traded to the Giants.
Yeah.
He went to the WFL. He ended his career with the Giants. And he was the guy that Joe Pisarcik tried to hand the football to when Pisarcik fumbled against the Eagles, which is still one of the biggest plays in the history of the NFL. He could have taken a knee. So Zonka, if you bring that up, he goes nuts. He goes, how about I punch you in the face? I'm like, okay, buddy. You're on the phone, first of all. You're in Alaska. How are you going to punch me in the face, Larry? But he was such a baby because all he wanted to do was talk about his Hall of Fame days with the Dolphins, not that embarrassing moment with the Giants.
Can you blame him?
No, absolutely not.
What about last thing, Sid? I'm sorry, I'll let you go. Any Hollywood gossip now that you're a Hollywood star? Any Hollywood gossip?
No, I don't really talk to a lot of actors and actresses, Anthony, and I watch all the same shows that fans do, Mario Lopez, and I watch that. I watch my friend on Entertainment Tonight, Kevin Frazier, the former ESPN host. But I don't really get involved in that. I'm not really a Hollywood guy. Look, I'm still a radio guy. I love getting up at 3:30 in the morning and going to my studio at 5 o'clock in the morning and spending 4 hours in New York City with this audience. It's very intimate. Movies and TV, it's great. Don't get me wrong. The makeup, the food, they treat you like a star. But there's very little room for creativity. You've got a script. They tell you what to say. When I go to work in the morning, 4 hours a day, I entertain New York and the whole country with nothing in front of me. and you don't have to see me. I don't have to be dressed up. I am, but I don't have to be. It's just me speaking to you like I'm doing right now, Anthony, in a very intimate tone. I love radio. I enjoy TV and movies, but my passion is radio. And one day, if I ever get back big on radio and on TV and movies, that's great. I'll do radio to the day I die.
You're the man, Sid. I appreciate being on the A to Z podcast with Anthony Zanni, this Sid Rosenberg. Thank you very much, my friend, and I'll definitely speak to you soon.
You did a great job, man. I enjoyed this so much, and I'm happy for you. And you got 2 kids now, and your family. And I really believe this could be a very successful venture for you, Anthony. You're a nice guy. You really are, and you're a smart guy. And this could go very, very well for you. So anytime you need me or anybody I know, you got my number. Feel free to text me. I enjoyed this immensely. God bless you. I love you.
Love you too, buddy. You're the man.
Thanks, Anthony.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right.